All right, guys, welcome back. Let's talk card grading companies here today, right? And so there's so many options out there now in 2023 that it's kind of hard to even figure out what to go for, what to buy, what is actually legit, and what is just some guy in his basement looking at cards with a magnifying glass. Basically, there are a lot of companies that popped up since the resurgence of the hobby in the last 3 years. And so some of those are worth steering clear of for a lot of different reasons, but mostly the main reason is you always want to get the highest return on investment on your cards, right? And so there's going to be a difference between which companies, unfortunately, because the hobby is set in its ways that it has decided which companies it likes and which ones it doesn't like, and it doesn't seem like anybody is really able to change that too much, with one exception. The 2-3 spot kind of flip-flopped over the last 10 years. But other than that, most of these companies are pretty much good at what they do, but of course, return on investment is important. And with other things being all the same now, of course, during the pandemic and stuff, turnaround times were not all things created equal, right? PSA was taking a lot longer than SGC. Beckett was taking a lot longer. Places like HGA were able to pop up and get on the map because they were turning stuff around because they were new, right? And nobody was really using them, so they were able to get stuff out the door. But immediately they got backlogged as well, and then CSG as well. But if I were going to give you the handful of companies, first off, I just want to start by saying that I only deal with PSA and SGC. Now, I'll only use PSA from at the current time for actually sending my cards in and getting them graded, because I want the best return on my card. And all things created equal, they all grade about the same as far as how much of a stickler they are. In fact, HGA might be the lowest, but they are completely off my list of things that I would actually send into right now. During the pandemic, it was kind of cool. I tested them out. I sent some stuff, some really low-end stuff. I wouldn't send them anything good, but their labels are cool, right? They have the custom labels. And so I'll show you that right now. This is what you're dealing with HGA. I don't know if you can see that. I'll lean out really nicely for you there. Hopefully there's not a glare. But you can see with the custom label there, now this was the very basic one, but you can see you get the color match with the team and everything, and that makes that nice. Now, this is a very basic low-end card, but they are big-time sticklers when it comes to giving 10. So a 10 is very, very hard to get. And the one nice thing about HGA is they give you subgrades there, so you can see corners were 10, edges were 10, surface was 9.5, and centering was 10. And if you saw my other video on what card grading companies are looking for, you will know that I went over those 4 criteria. Now, the other companies that don't show you subgrades, they are still using those criteria. They just don't tell you where your card went wrong, which can kind of be a little bit of a mystery when you get one back from PSA and you thought it was a 10 and it wasn't. Now, when it comes to return on investment, I would rank the companies like this. PSA is always going to be number 1. Up until recently, Beckett was number 2, but I would say SGC has kind of eclipsed them. Now, on your higher end stuff, it's still true that Beckett is probably going to bring more of a premium, but on your mid to low end stuff, SGC, people are liking that aesthetic of the SGC label, and you'll see in a minute why, because the Beckett label is just completely hideous and ugly. I don't even have one to show you because I don't carry them, because they're a different size than all the other ones. They're bulky and weird, and they just have the ugliest, old label, I don't even know, it's almost like off of an old plaque. They got the gold thing off of there and they use it, and it's just hideous. I think it's the aesthetic that kills Beckett, because they're really good at what they do. Beckett is obviously a really well-known name in the hobby. I mean, even if you just got back into the hobby, you remember Beckett as the magazine and maybe the card trading platform from decades ago, right? They've been around your entire life, and they started grading, when you were probably young in the late 90s, and they've been doing it since then. They've been really good at it, but because their labels are ugly, I don't think anybody really wants to deal with them. And so to me, they have dropped to third on the list. And if you look at the actual submission reports that some companies go through and show who's submitting the most to what companies, Beckett is now third. SGC is number 2, PSA is number 1, and CSG is number 4. CSG, and I would honestly rank the companies in that order if I'm looking at cards at a card show or something to buy, as far as how much legitimacy and how much value I would put into that card. Beckett and PSA, I would kind of put in a tier of their own, but as far as as far as what I would look to buy for myself, I'm only dealing in SGC cards and PSA cards because I don't like the way the other ones look. Now, SGC cards, here's one here. You can see that classic black label, that tuxedo label they call it. Obviously not as good of a look to me as the PSA label, even though the PSA label is so basic. This to me doesn't look as good, but now certain cards really pop with that black border, so that's something to pay attention there. Really wish I didn't send this card, actually, SGC, but during the pandemic they were just getting things back so quickly, so much faster than PSA was, that was what I was using then, because if you wanted to capitalize on getting a card back while the guy was still hot, SGC was the only one you could use. I may crack this and resubmit it to PSA, or I may just do their crossover grading. I tend to think that if you do the crossover grading and you've already got a 10, that's gonna give you some built-in bias with the grader that's seeing that and seeing that another grader already valued that at a 10. If you crack it, you don't know what you might get. You might get a guy that says that it's a 9 that time, or you might screw the card up. There's a lot of ways you can go. Now, this is the base version of that card, and you can see in a PSA label, it looks really good. I have a feeling this PSA, or this base level one, would actually look better in this SGC backdrop, because of the black on silver would look really good with that black on silver right on the card. But this card in a PSA is going to bring in more of a premium than it would in an SGC or a Beckett label. I think it's probably coming closer to around $60, $70 in one of those, and I can get almost $100. I have it priced at $100 for shows, but of course I would take $80, $90 for it as well. All of these cards are available. I don't like to sell my Jalen Hurts stuff, but if somebody offers the right amount, I will. So there's not a chance in the world that you're going to get these for a deal or a lower price than I'm really asking. However, if you do buy a couple, I'd probably cut you a deal. But yeah, for the most part, not really looking to sell these below market or at a discount to anyone. But if you got to have Jalen Hurts stuff, I'm a trustworthy seller and I've got plenty of it, so you can check my stuff out. But again, I'm not going to give you a bargain on my Jalen Hurts stuff when you can see that I'm an Eagles fan, right? So that kind of gives you a little gist of what to look for with the grading companies. PSA, obviously the best in the business, the number one. That's who I would go through if you're looking into getting your cards graded. Getting your cards graded isn't that hard, but if you need to go through somebody, I'm also somebody that you can send through. So that's an option I have. I've done that for several customers now. And you know, the return on PSA right now is like 30 days, something like that, 30 to 60 days. So you're getting your cards back pretty quickly. And I've pretty much got the process down at an expert level, so I can kind of get you through that without you having to worry about anything. But nonetheless, PSA is the company that I would choose to send to for my customers, because I know that they are the best in the business, and if it's about value and it's about getting that dollar amount returned for the card that you just sent in, then PSA is the one you want to go with. SGC, again, I would look at them because they're cheaper for lower end stuff, maybe your Topps base stuff that you're just PCing that you want in a slab. Maybe you like the way it looks better in an SGC label, so that's what I would use that company for. And of course, I'm always buying and selling and trading SGC. I just don't personally send my stuff to them, because the stuff that I send in, I want to get the highest return price. SGC also has a little bit of a reputation for grading vintage cards. They graded a Honus Wagner out there that's worth several $1 million, one of the highest selling baseball cards of all time. So if you're looking at older stuff, SGC also a good option there. They are just as respected as PSA when it comes to that vintage stuff. Now, Beckett, of course. Beckett, like we said, tried and true, one of the trusted names in the hobby, but really ugly labels. And so because of that, people just don't pay as much for them as they would for a PSA label. And then CSG, kind of one of the four guy there, but they're on the list. You know, I would at least value their stuff, but again, I'm putting it below SGC and Beckett. And I think they're just better for other things other than sports cards, and their label isn't the best looking either. Even though they redid it, I still don't like the new label. And then what about all those other fringe companies, right? I ignore them completely. There's zero chance that I'm buying one of those cards at a card show unless the guy's got it like way underpriced. Like say he's got like CGA graded cards and he's got them for 50% of what the comp of a PSA card is. I might consider buying a 10 in that, just to re-slab at PSA and make some money flipping that guy's mistake when he sent a bunch of stuff to HDA. But other than that, I have no interest really in the fringe companies. Now, I will say FCG, Forensic Card Grading, they're doing a really good job. That guy knows what he's doing. He's using a very, very fine-tuned process. He's really doing his homework, and he's doing a really good job. So if he worked for PSA, he'd probably be one of their better graders, like their best ones. But he started his own company. So if you're looking for accuracy, his company's really, really good. Return on investment, obviously, just not there yet because the impact just hasn't been made yet. But something that I value is somebody that's good at something. And so, if you're looking to get cards graded and slabbed and you don't really care about selling them, FCG is definitely an option that I would consider because they're doing a really good job there. Really, really taking their time and looking at cards and making sure they give them a valued, trusted, and legitimate grade. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and subscribe to the page. I'm always talking about sports cards. I'm always talking about flipping stuff, going to yard sales, selling stuff on Amazon. And there's enough gurus in that niche market, the Amazon flipper market, that I really don't do a ton of content on that. But little glitches and stuff that I've noticed within the system that I've figured out a way to fix, I will post videos on that kind of stuff. So I'm not ever here for tax advice. Don't ask me that. But you're sure to find something on my page that you enjoy if you enjoyed this video. So go ahead and give it a subscribe. Go ahead and like this video. Comment for me if you'd like your favorite card grading companies and why you like them. But in the meantime, keep on flipping.